Good morning again. This service was planned weeks and months ago, and so what I was going to say today is a little different. It's somewhat like what I was going to say, but it's morphed because of recent events. And isn't that what happens to life? You have plans for one thing, and then things happen, stuff happens. And so with that little introduction, I'll just say that we're what feels to me like a time unlike any other in our history as a community and as a nation. They used to take canaries down in the coal mines, these beautiful, delicate creatures. As long as the canary was still singing, everything was okay. But if that pretty little bird keeled over, then you better run like hell before the gases catch up to you. It must suck to be a canary in a coal mine. And who are you, my sweet little birds? Are you still singing? Someone said the Jews were the canaries in the Holocaust. Who was listening? Who was watching? Perhaps you've heard the famous poem by the German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller. He was a critic of the Nazis, but not at first. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Postscript, Niemöller spent the rest of his life apologizing to the Jews he met. And who else did they come for? Jehovah's Witnesses, religious minorities, little respected, homosexuals, the disabled, the press, and finally any who but dared to criticize. It doesn't start in a civilized nation with a huge explosion. A republic with a Bill of Rights doesn't succumb in an instant, but with traces of methane and carbon dioxide. I would love to be wrong about this moment. A moment when a white nationalist is poised to sit beside the highest office in our land. History tells me to pay attention. It starts with just an idea floated, masked in rhetoric of fear. There was talk of banning an entire group of people, Muslims, from entering the U.S. solely on the count of their religion. Now we hear rumors of a registry for all Muslims. So shockingly un-American to hear at first. Could it ever start to sound normal? I am not a Muslim. Should I then not speak out? Kurt Vonnegut said that artists were the canaries in the coal mine because they were just a little more attuned to the beauty and depravity. And Nina Simone said, how can you be an artist and not reflect the times? Is it any wonder that the cast of Hamilton stood and said, we are the diverse America, men and women of different colors, creeds, and orientations, whose inalienable rights must be protected? How could they not speak now? I invite you for a moment to think of your life as a work of art. It begins outside your control. You were made through no choice of your own, but at a certain point in time, the tools for creation fall into your own hands. When the last stroke is made and the canvas is framed, what final impression will you leave? I had a friend, and she was an artist. Her name was Jane, and she was not political at all. When we met, we were still coming of age. I was 18, a spiritual seeker, and getting up on stages, guitar in hand, singing the songs I had written. She was the shy one, skittering about with a camera in hand. One of the first things you might notice about her was the cleft palate she was born with. It is one of the first things you notice, And one of the first things you forget as you spend a little time to peel beneath the surface and hear the intelligence, the sharp wit, the self-reflection, the kindness, the shy laugh, and then you see nothing but the smile that says, I see you. I accept you. But Jane had loving parents. She could adjust. Other people with alcoholic, abusive parents have much deeper, though invisible, scars, much harder to overcome. And this was in Missouri, where I started college, and I was only there a year. I returned to California, and we lost touch for several years. My coming-of-age story includes a drastic upending of the worldview I grew up with. I followed my intellect and I followed my heart until my understanding of the sacred came to transcend all dogma and, in fact, all cultural categorizations and institutions. I came to accept every person for their humanity, regardless of their religion, race, or sexual orientation. This was a joyful place to land, but it also included a great deal of alienation from previous friends and family, and some unhappiness that comes with loss of community. I'm okay today, thank you very much. But there was a point when I needed to reach back to somebody in my past who could see me at my heart, regardless of ideology or theology. Maybe you too have had a need at some time to be appreciated by an old friend or family member for the person you were and are today. One whole person on your journey. So I asked myself, who would understand? And 9 years after leaving Missouri, I imagined a conversation, and I put it in a song simply called Jane. Almost 2 decades later, I was getting ready to record the song, and I thought the person whose name is in the title should maybe know it existed. So with some trepidation, I looked her up. Someone said, a friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words. I owe that to Carol Flanagan. She's not here, I don't think, today. A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words. So when I opened up to Jane about the new me, this is what she wrote, among other things. I also remember your gentle, thoughtful spirit. That, I'm sure, has not changed, no matter what the external expression of your spirituality and faith. Some people might be disappointed, but some people don't think from the heart. True friends do. It turns out we both had harbored worries of not being accepted for who we are now. She confessed, I would rather sit outside on a Sunday evening, drink a cold beer, and watch the clouds go by, marveling at God's beautiful world and experience the sheer joy of being alive rather than go to church. Along with her musings, which she often dismissed as, quote, too much Ozark philosophy, she often sent scanned images of her recent paintings or pictures of sculptures, a whimsical fountain made of found objects, sometimes small original paintings. In the envelopes also were pictures of her and her husband in Bermuda or some other favorite tropical location, sometimes swimming with the dolphins. In response to the leaves and birds that sometimes landed in my songs, she often enclosed fall leaves and stray bird feathers, nighthawk, blue jay, scarlet janiger, only red during the mating season, she said. Her take on the natural world was always a welcome visitor in my mailbox. If my Ozark ramblings give you a break from your routine, she wrote, and let you know you are appreciated and thought of from afar, that is enough. These letters are hopefully a gift to make you feel good. I hope they do. Another time, another context, she mused, Relationships are such fragile things, quick to injure, but very slow to heal. Well, that little pearl is worth sending that song back to her, isn't it? Quick to injure, but slow to heal. My art is my songwriting. And the song of my heart is sometimes found in an actual song, like Ocean Song, for example. Gonna drive down where the sun falls in the water. Gonna drive till the asphalt surrenders to the sea. I'm gonna leave weary footprints where the water kisses the sand. I'm gonna find a polished stone to fit my hand. I'm going to let it skip and fly into forever. Going to see the universe in a single grain of sand. Thank you, William Blake. I'm going to bring these salty tears and leave them where they belong. Going to lose my soul in an ocean song. And then the moment of inspiration grows faint, buried in the humdrum of everydayness, and you can easily forget. Imagine my surprise and delight, years after writing the above lyric, to find in the mail a photograph of an oil painting, a picture of an open hand with a polished stone laying in the palm. Her palm, I am sure. The note that came with it said, "In case you ever wonder whether your songs are having an impact on people." And I recall now something she'd written years earlier. Never let your voice go silent. Do not let discouragement take hold of you, or let those with negative voices direct you. If you feel you have failed at any point, forgive yourself and try again and again. You and your music amaze me. I did not understand why she said that in July of 2000. But I recognize it now as the voice of a friend singing back the song of my heart, lest I forget at some moment. And I think it's because I need to hear it now. I'm not going to let my voice go silent. And neither should you. In May of this year, I received an email from Jane's email address with the one-word subject, Jane. I suppose it's never a good sign to get an email from a friend with their own name as the subject. The message was from her husband, and he had said that Jane had gone into cardiac arrest. She was in a coma in ICU, and the outlook was not good, he said. She was, in fact, brain dead. Within 5 days, the rest of her was gone, 2 days before retirement. Well, perhaps you've heard the expression, while making plans for life, do not neglect to live. Well, Jane did not neglect to live while planning her life and planning her retirement. She lived a beautiful life, bestowing kindness and generosity to friends and family. Her husband had gone to pick up dinner when it happened. He was only away for 20 minutes. So suddenly can the window on this world close. And it has occurred to me that her canvas is now complete and framed, an unfinished work as it must always seem to be. Yet there it was, a complete, whole, beautiful life, 62 years short. Whatever she had to give had been given. Whatever art, whatever letter, whatever service to ailing parents or siblings, whatever word of encouragement, whatever kindness or smile to share, whatever bit of Ozark wisdom, it was finished and no more to follow from these hands. And it makes me think, what should I do now? What should I say now while my window is still open? I'm thinking about our life together here, and I'm thinking about our country and how we treat each other. Christian Science Monitor reported that the FBI has reported that attacks on Muslim American Muslims surged by 67% in 2015, driving a larger increase in hate crimes nationwide last year. And civil rights groups say that the trend has only increased so far in 2016, fueled by the vitriol and rhetoric of this year's presidential campaigns. And I'm thinking about our country. A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words. And doesn't America have a song at her heart? The one that we are best known for? Our greatest hit? Is there ever a chance we might forget? Starts like this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator by certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We added a verse in the Bill of Rights, 10 of them, including the first. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. You know, I thought I was going to get emotional talking about my friend. I didn't think it would be Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln added a verse with the Emancipation Proclamation, and the world was listening. The proclamation gathered support in England and Europe for the Union cause. Then came another verse at Gettysburg. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Resolving, he concluded that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. We added more verses. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which officially ended slavery. The 14th Amendment, providing equal protection under the law. And we know emancipation did not substantially alter the economic situation of most blacks who remained in the South, but our song of equality and freedom was growing, and the world was listening, and the people came. The French sang back our song to us in the form of a statue. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Another chorus was raised by suffragettes like Susan B. Anthony, Lucy Stone, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who added this important edit. All men and women are created equal. And finally, in 1920, voting rights were extended to women, and we know we are not done. But our song of freedom is growing louder. Martin Luther King Jr. rose to add his voice 50 years ago, 100 years after emancipation. He said, "The Negro is still not free. But I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal. From every mountainside, he cried, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, and we will be able to speed up that day when all God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. We have often stumbled. and gotten lost on our way to the promised land. We don't sing because the song is done or perfect. We sing because it is right. We have stumbled. We have crushed indigenous peoples before and after the Trail of Tears. Franklin Roosevelt, who spoke of the four freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear. FDR, who taught us we have nothing to fear but fear itself, by his executive order, authorized the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. Over 100,000 were forcibly relocated to camps. Over 60% were U.S. citizens. Do you know any of these good American citizens? I do. May it never happen again. Do you imagine it could not, should we forget the song at our heart? I miss Jon Stewart. Anybody else? Oh, yeah. After the recent election, Jon Stewart did an interview with Charlie Rose. The election season raised the question, what makes America great? He said, America is an anomaly in the world. America, by its founding and constitutionally, is unlike every other state. And for a lot of people, the recent campaign has animated the thought that a multi-ethnic democracy, a multi-ethnic, multicultural democracy is impossible. Natural is tribal. We're fighting against thousands of years of human behavior and history to create something that no one's ever done before. That's what's exceptional about America. This ain't easy, Stewart said. It's an incredible thing. And the words that we heard today from Karen Armstrong, she points out that in every major religion, the golden rule is at the core of that faith. We need all peoples of faith to recall that now. I think of the Hebrew Scriptures. To love God with all your heart and mind and to love your neighbor as yourself. It's the core of the law, Jesus said. And when the smart lawyer asked Jesus, well, who is my neighbor? He told him a story. You know the story. A man went on a trip from Jerusalem to Jericho. On the way, he was attacked by robbers and beaten and left by the side of the road to die. One official, important, rich person after the next passed by on the other side until an outsider, a stranger, an ethnic minority, a Samaritan, stopped, bandaged his wounds, took him to the inn, fed him, left money with the innkeeper to care for him. Who is the neighbor? Who is the one? It's the one that showed mercy. And this kind of attitude feels to me so lacking in our current discourse. So I mentioned the rise of hate speech and acts of racism. In that same article in the Christian Science Monitor, it's noted that as hate speech and crimes have fostered fear among minorities nationwide, many activists have been just as surprised at the outpouring of support that they have received, raising hopes that amid the turmoil of this election, communities can forge greater unity and strength. Can we sing our song of equality and freedom back to ourselves? So I ask ourselves, what is it that makes America great? Is it our skyscrapers? Other countries have skyscrapers. Is it our technology and gadgets? Other countries have technology and gadgets. Is it our wealth? No. Is it our music? Well, maybe a little bit. Because like our people, it comes from many sources and is freely available to anyone who will listen. But it is this dual ideal of equality and freedom, that this is a place where we do not discriminate and deny rights to religious, ethnic, and other minorities, that makes America great. And I believe this is a time everyone should pay attention and sing America's song back to her, to combat ignorance, resist hate, protect the earth. Nothing is more true to me than this: the beauty of the world is for everybody. The sun shines for all of us. If there is not justice and freedom for all, then we are not free. When the frame of my life is closed, I would hope someone would say, he was kind, he practiced compassion, he was thoughtful and sometimes funny, he gave his best. He sought a place of balance and peace in the wide web of all existence. He did not tolerate hatred and bigotry. He sang for love, for justice, for freedom. He sang America's song back to her. Will you join me?